Hello, Chunky. It's the court report for a Thursday evening, live across the world. It's the 28th of July. Because of prep for today's closing speech, I was not able to bring you the cross-examination of Philip Dehany. I'll do that for you in a moment. We did a summary in the court report last evening. Today, let me tell you what happened. It is 8 accusations of stalking R v Alex Belfield, the Crown v me, over witnesses that we have now heard from in entirety. This morning, we went to court as I was handed a piece of paper with 2 documents that I'd tried to get in front of the jury mid-trial, and they were rejected because of process. I did show them to PC Ryan Rowe, and those 2 documents today were given as accepted by both parties, an agreed piece of evidence, which I was then able to read out in court that I brought you earlier. Next, I was asked if I wanted to give evidence, and I explained to the court and to the jury that I didn't, because we'd already spent 3 days reading through my evidence given to DC Percival originally, and it has not changed. Not a word had changed is what I told the court, and then I gave my closing speech. Now, I'm going to give you that tomorrow. I'm not going to do it tonight because we're going to get out of sync. Let's do it in time order. I couldn't do the phone-in last night because I was preparing for today. And today was the closing speech. So I'll bring you that tomorrow in entirety. Let's do Philip Dehany. He is one of the witnesses. To put him into context, he's the man who wrote a blog about Ben Hewis, who is supported, who Ben Hewis published the Bernie Keith tweet, which had the email that Bernie wrote anonymously that nobody would tell me who had wrote it to confirm. And that is the basis to a lot of this argy-bargy. Of course, Jeremy Vine retweeted it, we heard earlier on in the case. So, to Philip Dehany, he confirmed he was unemployed. He'd worked for the BBC and became an actor and a theatre blogger in 2019. He said he'd never heard of me in 2019, but I tagged him in a link of which his friend was in. He was intrigued to see what the video was. He didn't remember my comments. He said that he wasn't interested in my videos, and he asked Alex to stop tagging me in, he told the court. He did know Ben Hewis, though. He said the video spiked my interest. He didn't watch it all the way through to the end, referring to the video I made about Ben Hewis after he wouldn't give the name of the person he had tweeted, which incited people not only in Bernie Keith's request to shut me down, but to block me and be aware of the type of person I was, which his tweet said. I was appalled that he had included a picture of Ben's child. That's in reference to the family photo that was later yesterday in court found to be his profile picture. As we heard in cross-examination, the picture of his child was his profile pic with his wife on all his social media. I didn't understand the context of the incident, he told the jury, meaning he didn't understand the background to Bernie and Ben. I just knew Ben and the work he'd done. It was not a reflection of the person I knew. Did you download a copy? QC McGuinness asked. I wanted to defend Ben, so I posted an article on my website. Alex Belfield is not part of our community and not welcome in it, he told his audience. Never been involved in legal proceedings. He didn't know what I was referring to. Did he consider taking down the article, QC asked him, after I wrote to him to tell him that he basically backed a person who had already deleted that post and apologised for it because I believed it was full of lies printed by who we know now to be Bernie Keith. I apologise, this is confusing. It is a layer upon layer of people. And the last witness is Philip Dehany. I worked by myself. I didn't want to get into any trouble, Philip told the court. Quite legitimate and legal. Did you consider taking it down after the email? He didn't know what Mr. Hewis had apologised for, he told the court. Had you seen anything about it? No, Mr. Dehany told the court. You contacted the BBC, but you didn't remove the post. QC said. He said, I spoke to the BBC. They're a public body. I wanted clarification whether he was being represented by the BBC. Paul O'Connell from the BBC followed it up with a phone call, he told the court. Refrain from sharing the email with Mr. Belfield, QC asked. Mr. O'Connell wrote to thank him. I beg your pardon, that was a quote from an email read out in court in his police interview. Refrain from sharing this email with Mr. Belfield. That's what Paul O'Connell from the BBC requested of Philip Dehany. Mr. O'Connell wrote to thank him for the information he'd provided. Nothing for a few weeks happened, and then he then went on to say that I was not tagged into it, I was sent it. He then said about another video, my partner at the time, I had socialized with her. I didn't watch the video. I saw the title and said the word was hanged. Right, what this is about was my video about Caroline Flack. He told the court that he was a friend of Caroline Flack, and that in one of my videos that was nothing to do with him, it was later established, he said that I'd said she was hanged, which she was. He didn't like it. He found it terribly upsetting. It was difficult to process, he told the court. I knew she had died. I didn't need to read in a tweet by Alex Belfield, after admitting that he'd looked and seen the tweet. I did respond to that tweet, he told the court. Show some decorum and respect for the people who knew her, he told me in a tweet. I had blocked him on Twitter and email, Philip Dehany told us regarding the incident that began with him defending Ben Hewis and now contacting me about a tweet that he didn't like, that he'd found. I contacted Nottingham Police and did not get a response, Philip Dehany told the court. All authorities looking into him, AB. That's what he said in a published article, that the authorities were looking into me, based on the response by Paul O'Connell from the BBC. Just to underscore, Philip Dehany does not work at the BBC. He did in the past, but we didn't find out when. Stop Alex Belfield was an article that Philip Dehany published on the 11th of April. He had a friend, he said, called Joe, and he'd received an email from Alex. He was a new blogger and he was intimidated. We later saw in court, by the way, that this man, Joe, ended up putting an apology on his social media, having also defamed me. We saw that in a video played to open court. When you can click on the profile, I click his profile and realised that he'd blocked me. So he told the court that he had gone, even though I'd blocked him and he'd blocked me, he'd gone to find it through Google, and that's how he knew that this stuff was there. He posted a video with the article. I don't want the drama or get myself into trouble, he told the court. It's enabled Alex to target and victimise other people. That need to stop. Hopefully, anyone who shares my experience, you're not alone, he said about the way I'd written to Mr. Dehany. I'd written him formal legal letters to ask him to remove the lies he'd printed, as I believe them to be, as Ben Hewis had already apologised and retracted them, yet this man then repeated them afterwards. He told his bloggers, more people who know what Alex is capable of, a better chance we have of combating him and stopping him together. He needs to stop. If anyone wants to reach out, and then he gave his email, implying that he wanted victims of me to contact him. On the 12th of April, he said he'd never seen the original email. The email was worrying pattern of insulting, he said. It was insulting me and questioning my mental health. He found it upsetting that I'd said he hadn't been well, as he was seen walking through a field crying, making another video. I didn't believe that the police would be working on Easter Sunday, that's when this happened, or Monday. He had tagged Notts Police and they hadn't got back to me. This is in response to me emailing him, trying to explain to him that he had repeated a lie and would he remove it? If not, I'd have to take legal action, but I didn't want to do that. After I posted articles yesterday, if anyone had shared experience, he said, shared experience, do contact me about me. He said that it was true to form that I'd sent a couple of emails saying that he was going to Notts Police. I've contacted the BBC and his threats are fabricated, he told his bloggers. You've got nothing to worry about, he told his audience. He followed a link to one of my videos on the 12th of the 4th, 2022. This guy, Philip Dehany, is not quite the full shilling, I said on The Voice of Reason. Someone is not mentally stable, does not give him the right to lie and cheat, I told my audience. He waded in. Are you stupid? I said on air. Are you fucking insane? This is unprovoked. referring to the fact that it was admitted in court that I hadn't actually spoken to him directly. He believed that I had replied to him in a tweet with a group of other people. He had then reacted to a video that was nothing to do with him about Caroline Flack. I said, I didn't attack you. Someone knows this idiot. Save him from himself. He thought I was mentally ill by selecting pictures in a dress. It was later established that these pictures in a dress were on his official website. I called him obsessed and unwell. I called him a moronic troll in an unprovoked attack, I said in the video that was played to the court. This is when it became personal, Philip Dehany told the court. It was a bit of fun. I'm not transgender, he said in reference to the endless pictures of him dressed up as things like Belle from Beauty and the Beast and the lady from Frozen. It made me feel sick to my stomach. It worried me that people out there, it isn't a joke, referring to being transgender. They might be trans. Weaponizing that was hard to deal with, he told the court. He said, reported as hateful or abusive content. Alex is not accountable, he said. I am not accountable. I couldn't request him to take it down, so I had to go to YouTube. We found out that Philip Dehany had gone and had many of my videos removed that had any mention of him under the complaints process where you can claim to have stuff taken down. We found out that most of them weren't taken down immediately and most of them weren't taken down at all, but he kept trying. He said that was his only form of recourse. I said he's an infantilized little mishkite. These gay fat people, are they watching too many drag programs on the BBC? So spiteful and vitriolic and jealous. I'd love to hear from you. Do you know someone like this? I said in a live broadcast on the Voice of Reason. Do you remember that backside Joe trolling us? He had a warning and he apologised. This isn't me. A day later, he was back trolling again. It's always the ugly ones, those old queens who are the best in the business. These are 18 to 30-year-olds, bitter and twisted. Is it that they have tiny man sausage, was quoted in court that I reported on air on the Voice of Reason Live. Little twirlies. You can't stalk someone and expect them not to react, was a quote from the video. Philip Dehany said there's so much hatred and homophobia in that clip. He called Stage Door Joe Backside Joe. That was deliberate. To have him target not only myself and the entire gay community, it was such a large reach that he had. It's really horrible. It's directed at you. Distorting facts is what he said I was doing. I called him a 5-star pilchard and mincer in one video which was played to the court in a 90-minute compilation that, as you heard yesterday, became controversial as it seemed the jury were led to believe these were sentences together when in fact they were small clips taken from 90-minute phone-ins that he had put together to give to DC Janet Percival. Back off, he's unstable. He wants to tell us lies. I'll take legal action at a later date, I told my audience at the Voice of Reason. We wish him well. He's going through a lot. I certainly don't want to be involved, I told the Voice of Reason. How did that make you feel? It made me feel even worse. That's what he wanted me to believe, to belittle my blog. He commented on how many clicks I've got and belittles me giving away 5-star reviews. 14th of April, it became much more for me. By this point, it was personal, insulting me based on my sexuality and mental health, involving my parents, dragging me into his narrative. This is in reference to the fact that Mr. Dehany made reference in videos to the fact that he was living at home, and I'd said on air that he was living in his mother's back bedroom. I didn't set out to do that. I set out to show people what he was doing to me, he told the court. It wasn't a pile-on at all, Mr. Dehany said regarding his video, asking people to let him know if they've had similar treatment to him. All those emails I received, I kept private. Then there was a crying video where he was walking through his mother's countryside, whatever, outside his mother's house. He said he lived in Cumbria. I just wanted to speak out because I'm incredibly conflicted. Some people think I shouldn't give Alex Belfield the platform. A lot of people have supported me. Industry Ben, he said, and that was, he talked about now the death of 3 people, and there was a mistake we later found out in the transcript, because he was actually talking about an awards ceremony that had named 50 people, but the industry talked of 50 deaths. He then referenced 3. One was Ben, a brain tumour he knew, and Caroline Flack, who was the victim of cyberbullying. Alex Belfield is a cyberbully. Twitter and YouTube need to stop him, he said. Shut him down, was what he told his audience whilst crying, walking through a field. Thank you, everyone, for all your support. And for everyone who has reached out to message me, he told his audience. Please continue to do so. I'm still here. It was lockdown, he said, and the entire industry had ground to a halt. I was incredibly isolated. I'm also, and I'll take this out for medical privacy, he said he was dealing with a lifelong condition. I had to shield. I had a lot going on. It was a huge upheaval, going from 7 or 8 shows a week to nothing. And then this came about, and then someone targets you, criticized you and weaponized words. You grow up worrying you're too camp. It's very upsetting. I was just trying to help other people, he told the court. I didn't want him to delve into my private life. I just had to step back. One person was targeting me. I hate watching that video back. It was me at my lowest. Everything got to me, he told the court. I wasn't strong enough, in reference to why he eventually stopped tweeting. At 9:20 p.m, I posted a tweet that day, great stunt, in reply to his walking through a field, which caused, as the court heard, huge retweets and obviously a huge reaction from his audience, who believed that I had made him cry walking through a field to make this video. You write retracted lies for attention. You play the victim, I told Mr. Dehany. You're a vile, manipulative troll who I've never contacted prior to your trolling, I responded. QC then, videos from a single video you've compiled. This is then into Tuesday, or was it Wednesday? I forget. Where are we? Yes, it would have been into Wednesday now, when we then got to this compilation video and explaining that this man had taken months and months of videos, everything I do, and put it into a 90-minute thing as if that was in context. I spoke to Judge, his lordship, prior to the jury attending, and then this explanation was given. Compilation videos. When you became aware of a video, you downloaded it and you kept it. You downloaded, and then for the purposes of the evidence, you put together a compilation, did you? Yes, Mr. Dehany replied. Some of the videos, have the jury heard the entire video? No, Mr. Dehany said. Most of these clips are from 60-minute shows, 20 minutes in one case, but a matter of seconds in others, he confirmed to the jury. What would you do if there was a 90-second part? I've downloaded the entire video, and for the benefit, when Janet asked me to compile, isolated those, he told the court. So a minute and a half was split into 3. Then Mr. Belfield spoke about something else. You've put the 30 seconds together, they flow seamlessly. I want to illustrate. So what I'm going to do is play the fuller, longer version, which was about 35 minutes, the full video just under half an hour, and then your compilation next to it. And that's what the court heard, context, without him just isolating those clips, putting it into a compilation video that the jury were led to believe was one flowing conversation, which he admitted it was not. The BBC tried to have me arrested twice, I said in a video. The police are laughing at you. I'm sat here like a rod of iron. I've never told a lie like you lot when you get fun from telling lies about others. I said the truth hurts, but lies cost lives. I don't know any of these people, I told the Voice of Reason audience. They started on me, purveyors of lies, was broadcast in the court from a video from VOR. Was there any editing in the first video? That would have been walking down a path. It might look like it jumps a bit. I did put 2 sections of the video together. That's a tweet that's still live in entirety, he told the court. The video that we looked at, that's the video in its entirety from the 12th of April, explain. It's still live. I've not edited it since. Video in the red shirt, that's the same. The video wasn't doctored at all, he told the court. Did you post to promote yourself? QC McGuinness asked. No. Were you jealous of Mr. Belfield's channel? QC asked. I wasn't making money. You don't earn money if you've got less than 1,000 subscribers. I've never made money, unlike Alex. He read the tweet. The BBC tried to have me arrested twice in 9 months. I'm the victim of 11 years of bullying, harassment and intimidation. Here's my story, was another tweet promoting a video that I'd made for the Voice of Reason. Mr. Belfield made an abridged version. I watched both of them. Did you edit the abridged version? Yes, he told the court. All of these people should be answerable to the law, I said. I won't make a penny. It's exposing the BBC as the crooks they are. Now, 10,000 plus raised in 24 hours was the next video in relation to the GoFundMe that we heard earlier in the week. DC Percival had told Jeremy Vine that she'd had closed down. After a decade of cover-up, this afternoon I'll reveal my full story of abuse, including being beaten up, was the tweet to promote the video that was broadcast here at the Voice of Reason. 30th of June compilation. My story is consistent, by the way. When you don't lie, you can't be caught out, I told the court through a video from Voice of Reason. Philip Dehany continually defamed me, and he says that I'm the type of person that killed Caroline Flack. You're an attention-seeking dope. Your mother says you should be taken to court. You stood up for a man who lied and get Jeremy Vine to retweet you and get people to hate me, was played to the court. Philip Dehany is not the victim. He's a nasty piece of work protected by the BBC, was read out and broadcast in a video. Over the coming months, I'll expose every single issue of bullying, harassment and abuse. Did you believe Mr. Belfield had raised money? Yes, you could see it, he told the court. Did you go to that link? Yes, he told the court. Did you have a lawyer, Mr. Dehany? A month after this last video, I had contacted Nottingham Police and was updating them. I did reach out to a lawyer to get the videos removed. Legal advice about Mr. Belfield suing you, though? No, because I'd not had any confirmation of legal action being taken, just Alex's threats, he told the court. The national press. It was a threat that he was going to put it in the papers. He has sold stories, so it wasn't an idle threat, Mr. Dehany told the court. An email from me. My father runs a chemical company and the two email addresses were my father's company. So this is him replying to an email I sent to his father through what was later discovered to be via Google, a public domain email address with a public company and details. My father runs a chemical company and the two email addresses were my father's company and my mother's work address. What address? This is my parents' address. I was terrified. He said in his videos that he was not going to stop. A month later, he was sending them to my mum and the sales department. It suggested that he was trying to do as much damage as he could. I did not want to involve them. I was concerned he was going to publish their address. Although he didn't make any threats, I feared he would turn up at the house. I read it as a threat. He's very clever about the words he said. It's like he said, don't look him up, getting people to look him up. He said his father is a doctor in Cumbria. And I said that on air. My father's name is distinctive. If you type it into Google, you'll find out where he lives, he told the court. I said on air, you're the stupidest man I've ever met. You repeat a lie, defend a man, and now try to get the video removed. You seriously need help. My audience have seen them, and I've been paid for them, so it doesn't make any difference. I'll be doing a 90-minute live later. My audience can't get enough. Your witch hunt is over, and you're a proven liar, I said in a video played to the court. What's that? That was the second blog on my website. He then was quoted from. The jury was shown a second blog he wrote about me. I wasn't sure if it was a real letter that I then wrote to him asking him to stop repeating more lies. What effect did this have? It was threatening. My father still wasn't speaking to me. Right, so pause there. In the court, they played a tape that I phoned his mother that was on the Voice of Reason. And that tape was to beg the mother to do the right thing and hopefully get Mr. Dehany to see sense. And his father apparently hit the roof. He said he was angry and they haven't really rebuilt their relationship since. And we later found out in cross-examination that his brother now also isn't talking to him because of the conflict, that the father just wanted this resolved and he felt he'd brought it on himself. So I called his mother, who had a very nice conversation with me that Mr. Dehany taped and broadcast on his YouTube channel. You are the stupidest man I've ever met. To repeat a lie, defend a man, and now you try to get videos removed. I beg your pardon, we've done that one. What effect? It was threatening that my father still wasn't speaking to me. I was in lockdown with nowhere to go, living independently within the house. This was sent to my parents. There was a line that they would be responsible for costs. He had complained about the video. Okay, next day there was a video, 1st of July compilation, another compilation played in court. He said I was the kind of person who killed Caroline Flack. I did this 4 days ago. Nothing from Philip, Bernie, BBC, RPC, begging to find out who had written that email and why it was still being repeated. They shrink like a micro penis when you stand up to them, referring to the people who wouldn't reply. I'm blue in the face, saying to these people, do the right thing in front of a judge, I said in a video. Fair is fair. If you want to say something about me, I can reply, was played to the court. Google agree with me. I'm entitled to defend myself in public. This would not bode well in a court of law, was played. Are you sure you don't want to be removed from this impending court case? At this point, Google were asking for more information, Mr. Dehany said, about his complaints to get my videos removed because it mentioned him. It took time to take the video down. I felt like YouTube and Alex were making money and they were naturally siding with him, he told the court. Did you speak to your mother and seek legal advice? QC McGuinness asked him. I'm 38 years old. I don't need to speak to my mother, he told the court. I don't believe for one moment he would ever stop to drag me back in. His argument with the BBC had nothing to do with me, he told the court. 6 different claims this week. You want videos? So that was a quote given in a video. He'd had 6 different claims made against me to YouTube to take down the videos exposing what I've just told you. People confuse opinion with hate, I said. It's my truth and my opinion. I don't incite anything. I don't incite anyone to do anything. I wrote to the lawyers yesterday. I can't be a liar. The story hasn't changed. The court were told from tapes from the Voice of Reason. If you want to throw missiles on a tweet, you will get in court. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My privilege to talk to you, I told a caller. Thank Google, who have wonderful lawyers. We know he's not the brightest button on the blazer. We know he's a few cushions short of a 3-piece suite, was played in court from a tape. It's now time for justice. I have to give them a chance to walk away. My fans, the police, Google agree you're all wrong. Let's check the email. No, nothing has come in reference live on air to Hadi backed down and decided to delete the repost that had already been deleted. I've never seen the email. I don't know why he has dragged me into it, Mr. Dehany told the court. Next, we got on to Mr. Dehany's past, Teesside Crown Court. We have discovered undeniable information, I said on air, about your criminal history. Would you like to make it right for your defamation privately? I will forgive you for your vicious attack, I told him. I knew what he was talking about when asked by the QC. It's now 18 years ago this happened. You were convicted when you were 22 years old, the QC asked. Yes, at Teesside Crown Court in 2004. I pleaded guilty. There was no trial. It was theft from an employer. At the time I worked at Barclaycard. I had £25,000 debt at Barclaycard. I had to access my and other accounts, and I felt a lot of pressure at 22. And with that facility, I cleared my debt by stealing it and paid off my own credit cards. I was caught, suspended. I handed myself into the police and admitted everything. I was given 8 months and served 2 months, he told the court. What did you do? QC asked. There was a loop in the system, he said. If there was money lost and we had an overspill, I didn't think it through. I didn't know whether I would get away with it and way to get away with it. I just did it. If someone rang in to pay off their card, I paid off mine instead. I used the emergency funds so they wouldn't know the difference. Over what period? A couple of months, Mr. Dehany said. How much money did you steal? I had a target of £25,000 until that was cleared, Dehany told the court. Had you been convicted of a criminal offence? I stole sweets from Asda as a child, was my other offence. How old? Not sure. Teesside conviction in 2004, 18 years ago, was repeated. I saw that as blackmail, Dehany told the court. When Mr. Belfield brought it up, he said it was on public record and not something I tried to hide. It's a spent conviction, which means he's paid his time. I don't have to inform employers, and it's up to me whether I tell people. For me, it was a new start. People in my life didn't know about it. You say blackmail, but it was a way out. He was giving you a way out, said QC McGuinness. Ultimatum. Reaction, you didn't contact him by 5 p.m. on Wednesday? No, I have nothing to hide, certainly not proud, but I learned from it. I'm now 40 years old and I've proved I did reform. It's something I wanted to put behind me without it hanging over me. It's not something I wanted to hide. If Alex Belfield wanted to expose me, what was upsetting was it was directed to Dad's sales company and anybody could have accessed that. My dad knew, but there was people who didn't, referring to the email sent to him and his parents to try and get him to do the right thing, as I called it. He'd always be going to do damage because that's the type of person he is, he told the court. That's not a personal email for father. That's the sales department, isn't it? Which was on the public website that he described earlier. Anyone who works for my dad would read that. He said, my dad is the boss. Clarification email, sneaky change of name, referring to the fact the article in the newspaper was spelt differently with an E to the one that was his real name. Later explained it was a mistake by the newspaper. Attached was a screen grab from the private Facebook. Dehany told the court there was no news report. There was a news report in the Northern Echo, which is how we got the information, he told the court. It was in the article. They got my name wrong. Okay. So please clarify your position by 5 p.m. is what I requested. And then Jeremy Vine tweet to the BBC lawyers, RPC, JV, Noel Gay and his agent and Ben Hewis saying later that day that we had big information that we would broadcast on the Voice of Reason later that day. Jeremy Vine incited his 700,000 followers to begin a witch hunt against me, endorsing a man who he described as decent and honest, implying I'm not. So what happened next was the tweet that Dehany broadcast and this walk in the field with the blog attached, which we found out Jeremy didn't know about and hadn't read, that was then retweeted by Mark Williams Thomas's friend, the ex-cop, who admitted he gave the tape of edited I Hope You Die of COVID. Okay, I know this is confusing. That article was retweeted by JV, and I talked about it on air. Jeremy Vine incited his 700,000 fans to begin a witch hunt against me. He endorsed Mr. Dehany as decent and honest, which implied I was not, whilst publicly tagging me in. Discovered decent and honest, a man on 30 charges was what I wrote, explaining that how could he be decent and honest when I was of good character with no criminal record. I was sentenced to 8 months in jail, but I only served 2. It was a complicated, but it was the same charge. It was 30 people, 30 charges. It was one conviction, he said. He tags Jeremy Vine's retweet and he's now pleading that 2 months after Jeremy Vine retweeted my tweet, he told the court. Page 147, he's replying to something else that I had tweeted. 100 indisputable evidence. That's my criminal conviction is on public record. He confirmed to the court. It's on public record. West End liars, thieves and criminals exposed. Which scum Jeremy Van promoted and endorsed. A bombshell. Let's Get Justice was a link to the GoFundMe account that we found out Janet Percival had closed, according to Jeremy Vine. There was a tweet he was going to expose that evening. He says he was going to put it out on air. The bombshell evidence, 9 p.m. I contacted the police to see what they could do. I explained and spoke to a solicitor. He was giving me a warning, giving me time. That's what they said regarding my broadcast that evening. Those who followed like sheep are about to eat their words, I said in the video played to the court. We begin the legal case to get justice against the BBC. I don't want to make a penny from this. The BBC want to get people arrested. This was after 2 arrest attempts by Nottingham police. That was PC Ryan Rowe, who didn't bring his pocketbook, do you remember, and said he hadn't done any investigation prior to being asked to do so, and come and see me by the BBC, having been given a file. Again, I apologise, this is so convoluted and complicated. I have to tell you in order of what happened in court. I don't know how characters involved. That stagey blog seems to be a decent person. Driven to despair, Jeremy Vine told his 700,000 Twitter followers. He was trying to ruin my reputation. This is the man who used a private investigator to find out if I'm a murderer, rapist or paedophile, I said in a video with reference to Mark Williams Thomas. He encourages and incites people to hate me because, of course, Philip Dehany is credible. Here's what I've been sent. And then I read the article in the video. Stole from 30 customers, jailed yesterday. 3 convictions for theft only a month before. He was suspended November 5th. He admitted all offences. Stolen meals and clothes, luxury meals and clothes. He is going to claim I'm a bully, endorsed by Jeremy Vine. I read out the article from the newspaper on the show. He stole £5,000 from a nurse, I read out, and more than 9,000 taken back from his account. 29 other offences taken into consideration. I'd like to thank the person who sent this to me, I said on air at the Voice of Region. My email is bulging with people trying to help, I told my audience, which was played in court yesterday as part of the compilation by Philip Dehany. I refused, I referred to Facebook, which was public. Dehany, on the 29th of February 2008, setting his story straight, said, I worked at Barclaycard until I ran off with £20,000. That's what he said on his Facebook. I said in the video, these people are going to try and end my career. Jeremy Vine used Mark Williams Thomas to find out. I said, you're a low-life turd who set out to destroy me. I am coming for these people, and one after the next, I will get legal action and recourse. Jeremy Vine, couldn't wait to throw me under the bus. I see through your low-life scumbag using the platform of 700,000. You backed the wrong horse, was in the video. Who would steal from a nurse and then fuck off to Italy? You can all fuck right off. You are stupid, so stupid you'd rather believe a real-life Jean Valjean, which is a reference to Les Miserables. Then I did give Philip Dehany a right of reply in an email before doing it. I told my audience, which I did. That was read out in court. What was your reaction? I was upset and devastated. I had to tell my close friends, but this was going out to the world. It was a mistake 18 years ago, the way he tried to discredit me and threats. He's got money asking for money to sue me. He's building and building this momentum. He talks about angels. That was in reference to a quote from one of the videos where I said, thank you to my angels who've saved my life, referring to the audience of the Voice of Reason. He was inciting. He was telling people to look me up, start of it. The entire evening, the emails, the Facebook, the Twitter was bombarded by trolls. He said after my broadcast, I was cornered. I'd done it 18 years ago. I look back on it not favourably. Details. You stole from a nurse and ran off to Italy 2 years ago. Like I say, he's creating a narrative about me. Dehany said, I moved to Italy where I did live for 2 years and I started a property developing company. Next, we moved on to cancel culture. Philip Dehany is the cancel culture summed up, was played in a video. I haven't changed my story since day one. The same line again from me, that my story hadn't changed. Did you go back to the video? Maybe I did say it, even when I'm speaking to the solicitor and the police, even when I had to edit the videos, even when I had to prepare myself for today. That was his reason for going over and over the videos I broadcast on YouTube. The judge said, reconciled, it's difficult, it's better, in reference to his family. He said that his parents had fallen out over the fact that his dad felt he'd done the wrong thing and his mother was backing him. Have you reconciled? It's difficult, it's better. I've moved back to London. I was living in a hostel and I eventually found somewhere to live. I didn't go home for Christmas because I felt uncomfortable. It caused friction between my brother and my parents. He took my side, he told the court, but later contradicted that, as you'll see. So I don't know what actually happened, but he took my side is what he said in court. I haven't seen my brother. Even at my 40th birthday, we moved to London and went to the theatre all the time together. I'm not understanding. We had an horrendous argument with my brother and my parents over Alex Belfield, and he drove off, he told the court. There was the next thing is the statement to the police. In August, by that point, I was in contact with PC Jameson at Nottingham Police from May on the phone. In August, I can't remember what happened when I first spoke to Janet Percival. Statement to the police, I did. It was horrendous. The whole year was so traumatic because of lockdown and my parents, to have someone targeting me because of the way I speak. I had a speech impediment and therapy. To have someone like Alex Belfield weaponize that is something derogatory. It makes you lose confidence. He said that some of the things that people sent to him after my broadcast, he said he was called a nonce and a thief. This stuff is not acceptable. They challenged me. The way they quoted my mum saying that she wanted to kick my head in. She didn't say that. This was reference to the tape with his mother, who said knock his head off, and said that I should sue him if he did it, in a call that was played to the court. Before you received that letter, had you received any solicitor's correspondence? No, not before receiving a letter from Henry Brandman. The letter asked me to take down the article, and I'd accused Alex had harassed BBC staff for many years. It's nothing that I said or suggested, he told the court. What did you do next? Then he said, Janet said she was discussing the case and had enough evidence when I phoned her. He said that he'd had this number passed on by the other police officer. The other witnesses had bail conditions. I wanted to be covered by that as well, he told the court. I contacted Janet and said, please, can I make an official complaint now to be covered by the bail conditions? He managed to get money and was part of the reason he'd have to take money. It was a pretense to sue the BBC. This is in reference to he wanted the bail conditions, which were that I couldn't speak about the people who are witnesses in the case. Again, he said I wanted to be covered by that as well. Okay, then we move to cross-examination. Mr. Aubrey. The compilation video, relevant parts. When did you make it? I made it in September, October. When I spoke to Janet, I asked to be part of the case. My way of providing all evidence was to give this video. Who suggested it was to appear as a compilation? First, Janet sympathised but had enough evidence, but they didn't need me. I wanted to be included in the bail conditions because I intended to take the article down. I wanted everything in order. I did it of my own accord, kept purely as evidence and only given to Janet, he told the court. Sorry, windy pops. Janet, do you mean DC Janet Percival? Well, did you get to know the officer well? I've never met Janet in person until this week, initially handled by PC Jameson. I didn't know more people at the time. Janet contacted me to discuss to take it on and to discuss my mother. She then spoke to both myself and my mother. When? I can't say the exact date. I recall PC Jameson up until the end of July and then Janet Percival in October. So I deduce, he said, it was August or September. Who initiated contact? She was made aware by PC Jameson. He will have referred to Janet. Then we moved on to what happened next. When did you first contact a solicitor? In around the Easter time into May, when I simultaneously spoke to the police and a solicitor. Did you speak to the legal department at the BBC? Yes, I spoke to Paul O'Connell in January 2020. This is the same man who spoke to Ben Hewis, by the way, in Tuesday's court blog. First legal individual was from BBC legal department. Is that right? To an extent. Mr. Dehany said, he didn't give me legal advice, though. I applied through audience services with an inquiry about Alex Belfield, and Paul O'Connell replied. Initially, he sent 2 to 3 emails. When I asked if there was any legal action I could take, he phoned me. Did you deduce the police? Did you discuss the police? The advice was to just ignore Alex Belfield. Paul did not instruct or advise me on anything. It was to reassure me. How many conversations did you have with Paul O'Connell? 1 phone call. Written emails, some to tally with BBC Legal. How many were there? Did you ever become aware of the BBC putting together a case against Alex Belfield? He said no. You posted authorities are looking into him and closely monitoring his actions. How did you know that they were authorities looking into Alex Belfield and closely monitoring him? Alex Belfield was known to Paul O'Connell, Mr. Dehany told the court. From your contact, you get the impression authorities were looking into him. That's what Mr. Aubrey said, QC. He said, who was looking into him? The BBC. I hadn't spoken to the police. He said he was aware of Alex Belfield and he knew about the article I'd posted. The impression the authorities, namely, were BBC looking into and closely monitoring Alex. If you feel you need, and then he read from an email from Paul, if you feel you need to speak to someone, please contact me and I will refer you to a member of the BBC's legal division who have been able to help and support me. Alex implied he was being supported by the BBC. Paul O'Connell said about a solicitor, between Paul's assurance that the BBC weren't representing Alex, it reassured me that I didn't need to worry, Philip Dehany told the court. You hadn't understood that Mr. Belfield was taking action against the BBC and weren't being represented by them. Mr. Dehany said, what do you mean? He was complaining against the BBC, about the BBC. He wasn't looking for their legal support, QC said. The impression I got was that he was being represented by the BBC, he repeated. Let's talk about Caroline Flack, QC said. You remember that video, don't you? What you said, Caroline was a victim of cyberbullying. That's exactly what Alex Belfield is doing, perpetuating a hate crime, and he's a cyberbully. Therefore, Caroline was a victim of cyberbullying and by implication died as a result of cyberbullying. Isn't that what you said? No. Well, what then? I was saying the fact was Caroline Flack was a victim of cyberbullying. Do you remember the event? Do you remember the fact that she was one of those people who had died? You wanted to speak out and felt conflicted. People were telling you shouldn't. Give Alex Belfield a platform. That's what you said, wasn't it? Yes, Mr. Dehany replied. Put it into perspective, they honoured 50 people. That's what you said in the video. This is the walking video through Cumbria. Let me start that again. Put it in perspective, they honoured 50 people that the industry has lost. Ben and Harry, who died, and Caroline Flack, who was the victim of cyberbullying. You were linking the two, weren't you? Cyberbullying and Caroline Flack. No, Philip Dehany told the court. But you believe that Caroline Flack died as a result of cyberbullying. I'll never know, Philip Dehany said. You must have read in the press the speculation of the way that led to her tragic death. Caroline Flack was a victim of cyberbullying. It later took her life, didn't it? No. Okay, you weren't sure. Are you seriously saying a friend of Caroline Flack, with the comments in the press that had been abused by trolls, that didn't lead to her taking her own life? Philip Dehany continued, as a friend of Caroline Flack, a lot of other things I won't divulge. I won't say why. I will never know that answer. What I'm suggesting to you, Mr. Dehany, people were saying it was a disgraceful thing. And you knew that, didn't you? You read that about the trolling and cyberbullying. I was a friend. Judge then intervened. That's not the question. Were you aware is the simple question Mr. Aubrey is asking. No, because it was difficult to read, Philip Dehany replied. So you heard nothing at all about Caroline Flack. I deliberately avoided reading, as I demonstrated when I called out Alex. Your sentence of Caroline Flack dying and cyberbullying was unconnected. Is that what you're telling the court? I was the victim of cyberbullying, not Caroline. That's not what I'm saying. You go on to say Mr. Belfield is doing the same thing, cyberbullying, perpetuating hate crimes. That's what you said, isn't it? Yes, that was my opinion. So you were equating Alex with the cyberbullies that led to Caroline's death. No, I've never said I suggested that. That's the clear implication of what you were saying, wasn't it? Wrong. If that's what I meant, I would have said it, Philip Dehany told QC Aubrey. He said it's people like you who killed Caroline Flack. That's what he quoted in the email. Did you ever speak to correct that? I've never engaged with Alex Belfield about anything. The fact that it's what you said, he repeated on a number of occasions, that's what he understood. Yes, that is correct. First thing you knew, about being tagged in. Is that correct? By Mr. Belfield, yes. You'd never heard of him before. You never heard of him, had you? No, I don't believe I knew him. I don't know he found my account. I don't know how he found my account. You don't like his tone, do you? I said that clearly. Always derogatory, you said about Mr. Belfield, and constantly uninformed and under research was how you described Mr. Belfield. That was my opinion, Philip Dehany said. Was it generally available in response to a tweet from Celebrity Radio Tagged In? Yes, it was public domain, referring to the tweet that was in the public domain. You wrote a blog, Enough is Enough. It was published subsequently, wasn't it? It's a blog from my website, yes. And C4, he was suing Ben Hewis. You understood that that's what he was saying. Yes, I read that. AB, not part of our community and not welcome in, aligns his show with Jeremy Kyle and Katie Hopkins. Alex is just like them, Philip Dehany said. No, I said he seeks to align, Mr. Dehany said. Mr. Belfield aligned with Kyle and Hopkins to shock and ignite controversy is what you said, didn't you? I thought Alex was seeking to work with Katie Hopkins, he told the court. Why did you mention Jeremy Kyle then? They're akin, he told the court. The idea was to support Ben Hewis then, was it? That's right. Defend Ben Hewis. He said, I wasn't necessarily attacking or defending anyone. I was writing my opinion on a blog, Philip Dehany told the court. Did you defend Ben Hewis, yes or no? I don't know. You didn't know what it was about. I was asked by Alex Belfield, is this fair? I watched the video and made my response. He claimed to the court that I'd asked for his opinion about my video. You don't make any attempt to find out what it's about. You replied to a tweet, but you didn't know what it was about. Here you were coming to the defense of your friend. You didn't know what you were defending, did you? I was defending my friend Ben Hewis. But you didn't know why Mr. Belfield was criticising him, did you? I was making a commentary on my blog, that Stagey blog. You didn't know, did you, about the background? I didn't know why Alex Belfield was asking the question again. You didn't know why Mr. Belfield was taking action against Mr. Hewis. I still don't. It's confusing, Philip Dehany told the court. You did not speak to Mr. Hewis. I said clearly, I'm aware there was an email, but I've never seen or read it, referring to the email by Bernie Keith. Were you interested to know? No, it's nothing to do with me, Philip Dehany told the court. But it's your friend. You didn't want to know what the beef was. Why would I want to involve myself in other people's problems, Philip Dehany told the court. You are. I presented a balanced argument into my friend Ben. I didn't know what the problem between Alex and Ben was, so I couldn't have a side. Are you reluctant to accept in this message that you supported Mr. Hewis? I have stated I was supporting my friend Ben Hewis. Mr. Belfield shouldn't have anything to do with your industry, you said. It was my opinion about Alex Belfield, about the way that he operated, the type of videos he was making. He was trying to infiltrate the theatre community, in my opinion. He wasn't infiltrating the theatre industry, was he? He was going to theatres that are open to the general public. He was trying to become a part of the community by attacking them. Is that what you're saying? That by attacking the community, he wanted to be part of it? Is that what you're saying? He was saying it was inaccurate reporting. He made it clear he wanted to be part of the community. He was accused me of turning people against him. He was complaining I tried to get the whole community against him. His tone throughout had been the same. It's always been controversial, hadn't it? Mr. Belfield has critical views where appropriate. It wasn't a secret. No, I'd say he was akin to Jeremy Kyle, Philip Dehany replied. Why didn't you take the post down when he asked? This was an act of free speech, Philip Dehany said. Something on my own personal website. Why was I not entitled? Under free speech, you can write what you want. That's how it goes, is it? No, if he'd have had a solicitor write to me, I would have. If there had been legitimate grounds, I would have taken it down. But you must have appreciated it related to something to do with Ben Hewis. Something had happened with Ben Hewis that had led to the apology. I appreciate it. Look at Ben Hewis's apology. It says wholeheartedly apologize. I saw it when it was emailed to you. Why do you think it was sent to you? And that's in relation to an email where I'd explained to him in the first email he'd already apologized by getting involved in something. He was reproducing something that had already been deleted. Why did you think it was sent to you? Because AB thought it was appropriate. You realized he'd apologized, didn't you? I didn't write the contrary. Then judge had to step in. Simple one. This is a simple question. You received a copy of the apology. You must have appreciated that Mr. Hewis had given an apology, haven't seen it. You had received it. I recognize it, but I didn't know what it was for. It wasn't my opinion to think. My article wasn't about their conflict and feud. My insight into Ben Hewis and Alex Belfield was in the article. Do you understand by this time there was an issue with Mr. Hewis that he was responsible for? Yes. Here, having talked about that message being retracted, you sent a copy of the retraction and apology. I'm sent a tweet with no context, is what Mr. Dehany replied. No, Mr. Dehany, please. You knew the context before it was ever sent, didn't you? You knew perfectly well. This wasn't the topic of the article, Mr. Dehany maintained. It had no bearing on my article. So what did you think it was? To be fair to yourself, what did you think it was? Alex was trying to intimidate and threaten me. In what way? He said, I hope you have deep pockets. That was intimidating. He says if you withdraw what you said, he'd withdraw his claim against you. That is correct, isn't it? That's correct. Did you take it down? The post had nothing to do with it. What Ben Hewis had said and done, my commentary was about opinion. Did you contact the BBC after you received the message about Mr. Hewis? No, Dehany told the court. You don't even understand the BBC aren't representing me, is a reply that I sent to Mr. Dehany. I said in an email, defend the claim and no attempt to defend Hewis and Keith. Did you understand, QC Aubrey asked, what was going on? I didn't know who Mr. Keith or Spedding was. Do you know who they are now? Obviously, yes. When did you first learn about Bernie Keith? As a consequence of my videos that I saw Alex posted. Remove, retract and apologize immediately. That was the quote. It was a threat. Repeat. It was a threat. I don't understand. It's quite clear. I considered removing the post. I wrote it out of solidarity and support for Ben Hewis. I read it again and declined not to remove it. Solidarity and support for Ben Hewis for not, what was that for? For Ben Hewis, for what he may or may not have done, Philip Dehany said. Being attacked by something written. No. You maintain you had no idea what it was about at all, Mr. Dehany, QC Aubrey asked. Exactly that. I'd seen an apology, but I had no idea what it was about. And you made no inquiry. It was not for me to get involved. I was in support of Ben Hewis. Whether he was right or wrong? No, as a person. I don't question what he'd been accused of. Did you want to be seen as supportive? No, I was supporting him. He's an incredible man. It's not about who saw me. I wanted him to know I supported him. Was there any interest to elevate your profile, Mr. Dehany? QC Aubrey asked. I don't understand how it would have. If I'd have circulated it, I didn't do that. Who circulated it? Well, it was circulated by myself and then by Jeremy Vine. I don't know Jeremy Vine. Up until that point, he wasn't following me. Until that point. Why did you circulate it? I updated it in April. Alex had attacked other people in the community. Help me with this. You don't get paid unless you have a certain number of people watching. Recently, you've passed that threshold, haven't you? That's correct. So none of this is to try and increase your following, Mr. Dehany? No, it was posted on my personal website. Has any of this, have you made any money out of this? I don't make any money out of Twitter. Anything on YouTube? Did you put anything on YouTube? I did post the one video about my mother, which I edited her voice out. Is it monetized now? Yes, but I no longer produce content. Mr. Hewis, apology. Did you see it? Yes, I have no context for that. You replied to Aaron Sidwell's lies. Did you see that? Aaron Sidwell, he retracted something as well. That's an actor from EastEnders. I don't know, Mr. Dehany said. You repeated lies, hadn't you? It's correct what he was saying, yes. GoFundMe.com. He said he'd got funds through subscription to bring action. Yes, he received donations to sue the BBC. You checked what the GoFundMe was, didn't you? I checked because he tagged me in a post and mentioned me in a video where he explained he was setting it up. I simply asked, did you check it? QC Aubrey asked. Yes. You discovered the figure he quoted was accurate. It was beyond that. It had increased. The figure he quoted had increased. He quoted a figure that he had reached, hadn't he? QC Aubrey said. Yes. And the figure had increased. It did. How did you know? I continued to check, Philip Dehany told the court. Why did you continue to check? It contained a video discussing me, so I checked to see if they removed the video. And telling the truth about the donations. No, it was closed down and refunded. How do you know that? Janet Percival told me about it. Did you complain to the officer about that? She confirmed that it had been resolved. When? I don't know. When Mr. Belfield called the family home, you knew what he said. There were emails sent to the family and the same effect, asking them to pursue you and take it down and apologise. A simple question, please try and answer it. When Mr. Belfield called the family home, we know what it was said. There were emails sent to the family, weren't there? Yes. Did your refusal lead to the falling out of family members? No, he said. Are you sure? QC Aubrey said. Yes. So let's try and see where we are. All this really started when you posted a support of Ben Hewis. No, the stalking had started before then. Let's leave that to the jury, should we? QC Aubrey said. Started what? Philip Dehany said. When you defended Hewis. No, that's not when it started. Do you now accept that you knew nothing at the time and know nothing about what it is all about? The post, the tweet that Hewis had posted from Bernie Keith. I've never made any comment about that post. Twice, he asked the question. You didn't know then what Mr. Hewis had tweeted about. Was it? I understand it's about an email, not the tweet. You know now, don't you? Now that you're explaining that to me, yes. You're seriously saying you didn't know before now? The judge then interrupted. We know that the dispute between Mr. Belfield and Ben Hewis resulted out of something Mr. Hewis had posted. The tweet included parts of a communication from Bernie Spedding, Bernie Keith. I've not seen it. The judge went on. Mr. Belfield doesn't like what Mr. Hewis tweeted. We know that Ben Hewis sends a retraction and published a retraction and apology to Mr. Belfield. QC asked, were you not aware that the retraction was given and this is where the dispute started? Mr. Dehany said, no, that's not when this started for me. It started for me when the video Mr. Belfield made about Ben Hewis. The judge interrupted again. When did you become aware of the tweet containing Mr. Spedding's email that was anonymous? When you explained it to me now, he replied to the judge. QC. You knew nothing about it until now? No, Mr. Dehany replied. That was the beginning of the demands, wasn't it? Yes. From then on, the repeated demands were that you should take it down and address it directly to you, wasn't it? Yes. And to your family, to get them to persuade you, that's correct, isn't it? That wasn't all, but yes. He made it clear, didn't he, that he would not pursue you for damages if you did take it down, didn't he? Yes, the judge then interrupted. Mr. Belfield asked you to take down and you wouldn't pursue. And he wouldn't pursue, I beg your pardon. He did that, didn't he? The judge asked. That's what he said, Dehany replied. That was my question. He criticised you for him being a cyber bully, similar to those that led to Caroline Flack's death. It was repeated, and you were referring to that. He said in a quote, "Alex Belfield's the kind of person that killed Caroline Flack." Dehany replied, "At no stage did you take down the post, did you, or apologise?" No. "At no point did you realise a lie or libel, so you didn't take it down, did you?" No. Judge, you went to Italy after prison was the final question after cross-examination finished. "You were making programmes and renovating a house." Both, Mr. Dehany replied. That is it for the court report for Thursday. We're back tomorrow. Tomorrow I will do you today. Now today has been my closing statement, which lasted about 3 hours. I'll bring you that tomorrow and explain exactly what happened today. And you will have seen already that this morning, Thursday the 28th, it was agreed fact by the court that the email was given that confirmed from BBC Security to Bernie Keith and to Liz Green that the emails were non-threatening and that I was of no risk to anyone at the BBC. I'll bring you up to date and read that in entirety tomorrow. Have a great night. This is The Voice of...